Hello everyone. Let me thank everyone that took the time to meet with me this Thursday. Remember that every single Thursday starting at 8 o'clock, I will be available online in case you need to run any kind of questions for me, or if you have any comments about any articles, or in the process of your practice, you will find certain things that you want to discuss, not only with myself, but with your peers. And I think it's a great opportunity to actually meet and have those discussions. This week we had the opportunity to meet and clarify some APA writing formatting, and I think that it is very important. I'm very thankful that I see the evolution and the gradual improvement of your papers by complying with the format. I want you to know I'm not taking away yet any points. However, as we come very quickly close or near to the midterm and also to the final project, which will be graded not only on your content but also on your compliance to APA 7. I think that it will be a great exercise to actually get adjusted or get accustomed to the different formatting. I've placed a couple videos. I will continue placing videos so that you have a clear idea of what I'm looking for in regards of the APA. So please take note of that. As we have discussed, the midterm will come right after you finish this unit that you're doing. So after June 28th, the next thing that you should be receiving is instructions on how to do the midterm. The midterm will be a paper response to something that we've already seen in the chapters, that it's in reference to your own leadership style and your own leadership philosophy. So, I look forward to receiving your paperwork for the midterm after this June 28th deadline is over. As we have seen, Chapter 5 is a situational approach to leadership, and something that we've seen is that the situational approach proposes that effective leadership depends on analyzing and adapting your leadership style to the behaviors and needs of your followers. So rather than using one leadership style, you can actually adapt a different style for every follower or every different situation. But in order for you to understand that, you need to assess the follower levels of competence. So knowledge and skills are involved in this transaction. And you also need to evaluate the commitment for confidence and motivation and adjust their approach accordingly to how this is adapted. So the model identifies four developments of followers. You have the D1, D2, D3, and D4 models, and this is low competence, high commitment, or some competence and low commitment, moderate to high competence and variable commitment, and high competence and high commitment. So according to what kind of characteristics your followers have, whether it's D1, D2, D3, or D4, you will assign or you will choose a leadership style that will help you with that task behavior, relationship behavior. So in response to D1, D2, D3, and D4, you'll be able as leaders to select if you're going to be a S1, S2, S3, or S4, which is directing, which is high, low, D1 followers, coaching, which is high in task behavior and high in relationship behavior, which will respond to a D2 follower. You'll have S3, supporting, which will be low in task behavior and high on relationship behavior and will help you with D3 followers. And lastly, delegating, which is S4, which is low on task behavior and low on relationship behavior, and this will help you with D4 followers. So the central idea of the situational approach is that there's no single best leadership style for every single occasion. So effective leaders are flexible to adjust what kind of direction and the amount of direction and support that you provide to your followers at different situations and different tasks. And these will set up the trend for a follower's readiness and developmental needs. So by matching leadership styles with developmental levels in your followers, you can improve performance and you can improve motivation and growth. So something that is important out of chapter 5 and is the takeaway is that leadership effectiveness depends truly on accurately diagnosing followers' competence and commitment and then adapting leadership behaviors to meet the specific needs. On chapter 6, which is theory and practice of path goal theory. The path goal theory explains how leaders can motivate followers by helping them achieve their goals. So here, kind of like what the value the leaders and followers will have in common is the level of achievement and the satisfaction that they get out of completing this. So, developed from expectancy theory, this path goal theory of motivation suggests that leaders can enhance follower performance and satisfaction by clarifying the path goals, removing obstacles, and providing support along the way. So the leader primarily, meaning you, your primary responsibility is to help followers understand what needs to be done, how to do it, and how achieving the goal will lead us to the desired rewards. So effective leaders adapt their behavior to meet the needs of followers and the demand of the work environment. So 4 leadership behaviors that you need to understand out of the chapter. The directive leadership, for example. What are the characteristics of the directive leadership? Provides clear instruction, expectations, and guidance. And it best used when tasks are ambiguous or followers need structure. The number 2 is supportive leadership. It shows concerns for followers, well-being, and creates a friendly work environment. Hence, it's very effective when tasks are stressful, repetitive, or frustrating. Participative leadership involves followers in decision making and values their input. It works better or works well when followers are when followers are experienced and desire involvement on the task. And finally, you have achievement-oriented leadership, which sets challenging goals and expresses confidence in the followers' abilities. So it's most effective when followers are highly capable and motivated. So you have to determine what is the level of competency of your followers to decide if you're going to have directed leadership, supported leadership, participative leadership, achievement-oriented leadership. Now, as leaders, you cannot always apply the same style of leadership or leadership behavior. You will have to select which one of the 4 applies to the task and the goal, and especially to the followers or the type of followers that you have for that specific tasks. Now, the factors influencing leadership style. The theory emphasizes that leadership effectiveness depends on 2 key factors: followers' characteristics and task characteristics. Okay? So, follower characteristics, we have to determine if they need affiliation, their preference for a structure, desire for control, self-confidence and ability, competence, right? So, the task characteristics offers you task structure, formal authority system, and also work group dynamics. So, leaders, you should evaluate these factors and choose the leadership behavior that best supports your followers in completing their tasks in their specific situations. The key takeaway for Chapter 6, the path goal theory argues that leaders are most effective when they adapt their behavior to the follower needs and workplace conditions, helping employees overcome obstacles, stay motivated, and achieve both individual and organizational goals by clarifying goals, providing support, and selecting the appropriate leadership style. You leaders can improve follower satisfaction and performance. Now, why are Edgar Schein and Hofstede important to this? Well, understanding Schein's and Hofstede theories of culture is important when you're trying to study the situational approach and path goal theory, because leadership effectiveness depends really on how you interpret your culture, your environment, and the followers, and how followers interact. But followers are often in function of the culture that you build. So, Schein organizational model explains how shared assumption, values, and behaviors within an organization affect employee expectations and responses to leadership. In the situational approach, for example, a leader's ability to adopt their style depends on understanding the organizational culture and how employees are accustomed to being led. Similarly, in path goal theory, leaders must recognize cultural norms and organizational values when clarifying goals, providing support, and removing obstacles. A leadership style that works well in one organizational culture might be ineffective in another. That's why you need to understand culture and the values of culture. In regards of Hofstede's cultural dimensional theory, It is important that national cultures influence preferences for leadership behaviors. For example, employees in higher power distance cultures might respond more positively to directive leadership, while those in low power distance culture might prefer participating leadership. Likewise, individualism versus collectivism, uncertainty avoidance, and other cultural dimensions can affect followers' competence, commitment, motivation, and operation of leaders. Both the situational approach and the path goal theory approach require leaders to adapt their behaviors, and Hofstede's framework provide insight into how cultural differences shape those adaptations. So together, Schein and Hofstede help you understand that effective leadership is not only about matching behaviors to followers' developmental levels of task, but it demands also recognizing the organizational and national culture, so that you understand how you have to select your leadership and how leadership respond to these things. So this cultural awareness enables you to apply the situational approach and path goal theory more effectively in diverse workplace environments. So these two things are tremendously important because it will help you understand, based on the culture and based on the follower needs, according to the environment that you have, what type of leadership behavior you need to have to each task and to each group of followers according to each national culture. I will encourage you to look either in Google Scholar or on your own research, the importance of the type of or the influence of national cultures and national preferences for leadership behaviors. Because, for example, the power distance cultures or a participative leadership style will infer or will have an influence on how you do leadership. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, remember that it is important to take this in account, because I think that we're going to see Schein and Hofstede for the midterm, so that you can evaluate your own situations and perhaps evaluate your own culture and give us a little bit of a reflection on the midterm for this. Have a wonderful week. If you need any help, remember that I am always here. Thank you.